Pass. We're just watching it here behind the scenes here with the Holiday Inn there up in Jekyll Island. There was some very heavy rain passing by. We're also tracking for you here. There it is, reconnecting here now. This is from Jekyll Island. So you can see the camera moves a little bit. If there was a circulation, likely by now it might be just offshore. There is some very heavy rain there and some gusty winds at times, but this is what it looks like right now, at least there about the central portion, if not north of center of Jekyll Island there, looking out over the Atlantic. So this is a live look here right now over Jekyll Island with the circulation, if there was one, moving just off there offshore here to the north and east of this location, Mike.
Yeah, and a new severe thunderstorm warning. So the point is on that tornado warning, Garrett, most likely moving offshore, the most dangerous part of that storm. Correct.
Oh, and you may even, if you were to look out your window at the tip of St. Simon's Island, that's moving off right now with the most intense portion of that in between Jekyll and St. Simon's Island.
Right.
With our shear marker there I was showing you earlier. So it's right about there. There's St. Simon's, there's Jekyll, and that's moving right about there off to the northeast.
And we did just get an expansion on the severe thunderstorm warning parts of Bradford and Putnam County. So that's south of Jacksonville, and that's with those storms that are moving northeastbound out of central Florida and out of the Gainesville area. So severe thunderstorm warnings now cover western Putnam County. The edge of this just about at Palaca, maybe just a tad bit west. It's kind of semantics, though. You're still going to have some severe weather more than likely in Palaca in due time, but does include Interlochen and extends northward still through much of the western half to 2/3 of Clay County. And picking up a little uptick in the lightning here from Alachua into Bradford County along Highway 301, starting to edge into southwestern Duval County, and any of these cells will be capable of producing damaging winds. That would appear to be the biggest deal right now. We should maybe put the velocities on here, Trevor. See what we come up with. We do have Lottie Elementary School WeatherStem Network also here. That's pretty handy. That's just getting into the really heavy storms now. So let's go to that on computer 2, and then we'll come back to the wind field here. But this is Bradford County Sheriff's Office right now on our WeatherStem network. We did just have a lightning strike there a minute ago, but this is pointed toward the sky, so you just make out some of those trees right there. But obviously heavy rain here, still a temperature that's quite warm for this time of the day with rain falling in this time of year, and that's helping to fuel and feed these storms. So back to computer 1 and 5 Sweep First Alert Doppler HD. These are those stronger winds now moving up into Stark and then extending through Clay County, parts of Putnam County. My guess is we're going to see, when we put the values on here, they're going to be pretty high. They are. There you can see 80-mile-per-hour winds approximately indicated over southern Bradford County, south of Stark, north of Gainesville. Again, that's likely a little bit aloft because of the radar beam is shooting at an angle from its original point over northern Duval County. But having said that, there's still likely to be some pretty strong winds working its way northeastbound up through Bradford and Clay County, right up the Highway 301 corridor. So heads up Stark and Lottie and Hugh and Middleburg, Keystone Heights, and then eventually that'll work its way all the way to the St. Johns River and the eastern part of Clay County, Trevor.
We're just getting an update now that tornado warning for southeast Georgia clipped off of Camden County, but still technically there for Glenn County for another 15 or so minutes there until 3:15.
Did you see that? It's being called
yes,
observed?
It is tagged observed. I wonder if that's with its.
So let's take a look at that, guys. We're observed. Just it means that they're indicating a tornado, or it's been reported as a tornado, or possible water spout. It would be moving just very near and just south of Jekyll Island. Not seeing, this is the debris tracker, and not seeing a whole lot here. Now, that would be straight line mostly, and leaves and small debris, branches, of course, with that line as it moved from west to east. Garrett?
Yeah, we're watching this right now, and we're seeing some of that confirmation here. Trevor's tracking here the debris signature. We're seeing that shear on the First Alert Storm Analyst as well, basically paralleling the coastline right now. Let's go over here and join Trevor.
So it could be a water spout, guys?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, guys. Okay. Is we got a spotter report of a visual site there of a water spout moving offshore. So that's why there's not really much damage or debris here showing up here on the screen. But a water spout did move offshore.
So you can see right about there is where it's moving. So it's moving north and east. Again, observed. We've seen a water spout there. We were showing you that webcam earlier. Didn't spot it, but we were looking at that heavy rain up there, Mike.
So rain wrapped.
Yeah, we had to be darn close to it. It's just that we couldn't sit there and watch the camera constantly, and we may very well end up with pictures and or video. And if you do, by the way, you can get it to us as long as it's safe for you to do so at actionnewsjax.com, hashtag FirstAlertWX. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Take your pick. We'll certainly get it to the air, no doubt about that. And you can see the storms, and there's that burst of lightning that sometimes correlates with an intensifying storm and sometimes a circulation too. And it would appear that it's going to stay just offshore, but I suppose there's a chance it could just clip their parts of the extreme eastern edge of Jekyll Island. They're just near and just northeast of Jekyll Island, guys.
St. Simon's Island as well as this shifts offshore. So within the next couple of minutes, this will be continuing to lift to the northeast and eventually moving offshore. But the tornado warning still there for coastal Glenn County until 3:15, as there is a water spout nearby, and you might not be able to see it because there's a very heavy rain that is falling. That's what we call rain wrapped. You're not going to be able to see it as distinctly as if it wasn't raining heavily at the same time. So we're still monitoring this. I also want to bring your attention as we zoom it out into northeastern Florida here. You can see we're still tracking that very strong storm over Alachua County now, right over Gainesville. But if we extrapolate that motion or that movement, it is going to be lifting north through Clay County and into Duval County. And that's going to carry a threat for some damaging winds as well, stronger than what we're already seeing. Still seeing some gusty winds over Duval County with the heavy rain, but heavier rain, stronger winds, and a heightened potential for some severe weather will continue to increase as this batch of rain right now over Gainesville with this storm shifts quickly to the northeast. Mike?
And each individual cell out ahead of that main line is a concern, Trevor and Garrett, too. So we're carefully watching those, although there's not any that look particularly suspicious at the moment. And so we see the heavy rain, occasional claps of thunder, and some flashes of lightning. And then you get to that main line, which would be the true squall line, where you see the solid red, and that's working its way through eastern Baker County around McClenny, moving into western Duval County, up into western Nassau County, so soon into Briceville, Hilliard, Callahan, and then extending south down Highway 301, soon into Middleburg, already into Stark, and then down to Gainesville, where we have the tornado warning that is still in effect for the moment. And it's these other little cells out ahead of it that we'll carefully track to make sure they don't try to spin, rotate, and produce a quick tornado or some damaging winds. The severe thunderstorm warnings remain in effect virtually area-wide. And then you get behind this squall line, there's still some showers and storms. And there is a heavy storm now moving up back into Columbia County. So Lake City, even though the squall line has moved past you, we do have some heavy storms moving in. I would suspect that these are more of a heavy rain, gusty wind type thing versus truly severe, but it is something we'll keep a very close eye on for you in Columbia County and Lake City as this batch of storms kind of sneaks up the back side of the main line now as it moves into Columbia County. For Duval County specifically and Jacksonville, well, we can see the heavy rain. It's raining virtually over all of Duval County now. The beaches, it's still pretty light, picks up in intensity when you get to downtown, and then that solid line right here, right just about to get to Highway 301 in western Duval County. That's the line that may produce especially widespread damaging winds, possibly occasional lightning, and then every once in a while we have to watch carefully for a quick spin up that might try to be a tornado all of a sudden as it moves to the north into the northeast, Trevor.
Just to note that a tornado warning for Alachua County, including Gainesville, has been allowed to expire. So that is some good news, but still looking at a severe thunderstorm with this. This is shifting northeast, so we're still going to see those wind gusts in excess of 45, 50 miles per hour, perhaps even higher as this solid line of red here. That's the original squall line. So what's ahead of it is some showers and storms that developed this afternoon. That's now moving over Duval County, but the main squall line right there on the back edge, that is now entering far western Duval County into Nassau County as well. So the strongest winds, as Mike mentioned earlier, likely over with in Lake City, but still some gusty winds. As all across the region, our winds just off the ground are still very strong. So even before it rains and after it rains, there is still going to be some gusty winds, but the strongest winds will be contained within the areas of heaviest rain. Right now over Gainesville, this is going to continue lifting north into parts of Clay and Putnam counties as well over the next 30 to 45 minutes. No active tornado warnings for northeast Florida and into southeastern Georgia. That warning coming to an end as we're seeing that shift offshore. Heavy rainfall continues though, thunder and lightning as well for the next at least couple of hours until this pushes offshore.
The only tornado warning still in effect, Trevor, is the one that just will be in effect for a few more minutes over extreme eastern portions of Glynn County. But we're also tracking another round of storms headed northeastbound, kind of on a similar path, Garrett, that may also be producing some damaging winds at the very least.
Yeah, we're watching here. And Trevor, if we could put the storm analyst up here. This is a similar path. This southern tip of Jekyll Island. We're looking here also in the Dover Bluff area. South of that, there's that shear marker again increasing. This is another storm that is racing offshore here, so moving from southwest to north and east. There's Jekyll Island right there, and you can see an update. Perhaps, Trevor, we can put on Max 1 the velocity data for us. We're also seeing kind of a signature there, at least we were in the last radar frame. That was showcasing at least some wind picking up there, moving off to the east-northeast. As we zoom in there, just south of Jekyll Island, there you can see there's another area of an enhanced winds at least. And over the past couple of frames, it was intensifying just a bit. Southern tip of Jekyll Island, there's St. Simon's Island again. We've had that confirmed waterspout now. Now there's another storm that's just south of Dover Bluff and moving off to the east-northeast there. So it's not a very populated area, but the southern tip of Jekyll is right there. So this is moving. If we put it in motion there, you can see it kind of develop all of a sudden there. So we're watching that one as it moves off to the east-northeast. Looks like at least there could be some gusty winds there in Jekyll Island, Mike, here right now. So we're watching this storm as well after that other confirmed waterspout.
Yeah, that may be another waterspout trying to happen there. And it actually looks like it's tried to go a little northeast in the last...
Yeah, I'd say it shifted north just now.
Right, yeah, just in the last couple of minutes. And certainly a surge of wind out ahead of it. That would be the straight line winds on the leading edge of the storm. And then there's that possible circulation that would be couched right on the southern edge of Jekyll Island and possibly, not confirmed, but possibly producing a waterspout. Looks very similar, as Garrett was alluding to some of the storms that have already produced waterspouts and tornadoes very near the coast. So a couple more minutes, few more minutes. On that tornado warning for extreme eastern portions of Glynn County. Technically, that'd be another 6 minutes as that is in effect. And then you have heavy storms that extend all the way through Camden County, Woodbine, south to Kingsland, east to St. Mary's, southward into Nassau County. Heavy rain for Fernandina Beach and Yulee. And then the stronger storms, Hilliard, soon to be into Callahan, right down to Bryceville, western Duval County, eastern Baker County, including McClenny. Pick up in the lightning here over northwestern Clay County along Highway 301. We'll carefully watch that cell, as well as another one here in central Clay County, and then all the way down to Gainesville. These storms that will move. The individual cells are moving northeast really fast, 50 to 60 miles per hour. But notice that whole line is more slowly shifting toward the east. So once you're into the heavy rain and the storms, you'll get multiple rounds of very heavy rain and gusty winds before it finally diminishes. And that's what drops the inch to an inch and a half of rain, give or take, in most neighborhoods over our viewing area, Duval County, northeast Florida, and southeast Georgia. But then that'll be just about the end of it. And we'll see a quick period of drying and clearing skies this evening. That's the good news. The winds will stay pretty gusty at least into this evening. In fact, the back edge of these storms could have some pretty strong winds as the upper level trough that's driving this storm system lifts out to the north and east and moves in some pretty strong winds. And that could be somewhat problematic because the ground is saturated, so that could more easily uproot some trees over the next few hours before the winds finally diminish a little bit a little later this evening and overnight. Looks like we have another update coming out from the National Weather Service. And this would be severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Glynn and Camden County extended, it looks like, for another 45 minutes or so now, Trevor.
Yeah, so it's this part right here, right behind you, or right behind me now with that blue arrow. So just inland of Interstate 95, that's where we're seeing more of that rainfall shifting to the north with some of the gusty winds. And I do want to point out as well, as I zoom this out to include northeastern Florida, the strongest winds will be contained right along this band of dark red. And also notice the amount of lightning that's coming in from the Gulf of Mexico. Some more unstable air moving in, some moisture coming in as well. And so that's going to lead to a real stormy afternoon for Putnam County. So Palatka right now, Interlochen, not really seeing a whole lot of action, but pretty soon you're going to see that move through, possibly hearing some thunder right now. But this is also going to be the area that contains the strongest winds on the order of 60 to 65 miles per hour as this moves through. So Palatka, some stormy weather on the way. We currently don't have a severe thunderstorm thunderstorm warning in effect for you, but I do suspect we will see additional warnings lifting northeast with time. Gainesville, you're done with the heaviest of rain. That is now shifting to your east. Still hearing a lot of thunder as a lot of that lightning continues to progress through the area. Stark, some very heavy rain. Middleburg as well. Light rain spreading over northern St. Johns County, including Nocatee. Now, the strongest winds really aren't with any of the light rain. Yes, it's gusty, but it's manageable. It's not where we're seeing the heaviest of rain and the heaviest winds. That's why there's that severe thunderstorm warning. And again, that's going to continue quickly racing to the east and northeast.
And just have issued an update on the severe thunderstorm warning for parts of Clay and Duval and eastern Bradford County. That's why that's flashing. Just an update saying it's going to continue to be in effect. And Trevor mentioned that St. Johns County has been relatively unscathed so far. A little bit of rain in northern parts of the county, but St. Johns County from near Nocatee, where it's raining moderately now, that'll pick up in intensity, but then St. Augustine southward to Elkton and Hastings, where you've largely not had much today yet. You'll get into it. It's just a matter of time. There's certainly some heavy storms to the south and west, and in fact, my concern would be that this is still pretty warm over central and southern St. Johns County, quite unstable in other words, and it is certainly warm over Flagler County, and the winds will draw that northward. South winds blowing from bottom to top on your TV screen here, or electronic device, from south to north here, will feed some of that unstable air, warm, humid air into those storms and potentially make them even stronger. So St. Johns County hasn't received the brunt of the storms yet, but will soon. And then, as Trevor was mentioning, these other cells that are coming up from the southwest, heading quickly to the northeast, any of these could try to produce severe weather. In fact, there's some indication in eastern Alachua County, maybe even attempt at a bow echo there, somewhat. And when that happens, you get an extra push of wind in advance of the storms as they move in, and that can be, and well, there you go. It looks like we have some strong winds there. So we're going to measure those winds. We're now looking at the velocities on First Alert Doppler HD, and wow, 103 miles per hour. Again, that's elevated. It's not likely reaching the ground, but some of it probably is. Typically, you could easily expect at least half of that reaching the ground, which would be roughly 50 miles per hour, right? So we may see gusts on the order of 60, 70 miles per hour seems more reasonable. But again, and in just a blink of an eye, sometimes that kind of wind energy can suddenly be transferred to the ground. So we're looking at some pretty strong winds for some neighborhoods as these move to the north and to the northeast. The individual cells 50 to 60 miles per hour, while the whole area gradually shifts toward the east. And go along with that, we get the heavy rainfall. We have a traffic cam from the Dames Point Bridge. It looks like northeast beltway at 295. Obviously, it is wet here. Highways and interstates are going to be a slow go. Headlights are on. You're going to need to take it easy as these storms move now through the northeast beltway at 295 as well. Our First Alert Skycam network. Let's pop up a camera or two here. We also have Baldwin, I notice, on the weather stem. Here's Fernandina Beach, First Alert Skycam network. It's raining, but you can see the palm trees. They're not moving much at all. The flag here. It's not much wind in Fernandina Beach. That main line with the red, the heavier storms and the stronger winds, is still a little bit to the west, but we'll see. So those winds will pick up in Fernandina Beach in due time. Here's Jax Beach, First Alert Skycam network. Raining here, but once again, not a whole lot of wind. You're well out ahead of that main line of storms with the red, the squall line. In other words, here's St. Augustine, St. Johns County, and not bad. Obviously, it's overcast, but not much water on the highways and roads here, and really not much traffic for St. Augustine, where, by the way, you still only have a couple more weeks of nights of lights. I would recommend maybe another night other than tonight. But downtown, it is raining here as well. Our First Alert Skycam network, this is right now. You can see the river is a little bit rough, so there is some wind as the rainfall will be really picking up in intensity downtown in over just the next few minutes. Looks like we have canceled the western edge, perhaps, of the tornado watch from the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center now, and that's what we expected. We talked about that western edge of the watch will be peeled away as these storms continue to progress toward the east. And this is the line of storms that will likely have the strongest winds now with this red over western Nassau, western Duval into northwestern Clay County. Let's track that real quick as it moves north-northeastbound, 50-plus miles per hour. These storms will envelop Duval, Nassau County, Clay County, eventually St. Johns County. In this view that you're seeing here, into Wildlight in Nassau County at 3:22, downtown Jacksonville 3:23, so just 7 minutes from now. Fernandina Beach, there's where your winds pick up at 3:33, and Ponte Vedra at about 3:41. There'll be a little uptick in the lightning and the potential for stronger winds. Garrett?
So we're tracking all of that here. Just a quick correction for us here for the National Weather Service. There was a possible waterspout, not a confirmed one. There was a little bit of an error on their part tagging that tornado warning up in St. Simon's Island. So it was a possible waterspout here. So anyway, we did see that rotation, just to correct that for you here, just offshore from St. Simon's Island. We're definitely seeing that rotation. So at least some good news. It wasn't actually there. But we are seeing for you here some heavy downpours moving into Hilliard, to Kingsland, to Woodbine, Georgia. And on max number 2 here, I have also our WeatherStem camera network here for western Duval County. Just a minute ago, I was watching some very heavy rain move just west to east. Mike was just talking about that as well. Temperatures still at 70 degrees with winds out of the south-southwest around 7 miles per hour. You can still see the flag blowing just a little bit. Not too bad there, but we are still seeing the heavy rainfall there and continuing to move in. As we showed St. Augustine, you haven't seen much rain yet. We are going to see some rain for you here, as now we're seeing a tornado warning for Marion County to our south and west outside of the viewing area. But that's just issued from the National Weather Service. But we'll be watching that one as it lifts to the northeast into Putnam County later on. So again, Putnam County, just heads up, we'll be watching this one for you. Western Interlochen, southwestern Putnam County, and into Marion County. Now we'll be watching that line of thunderstorms, Mike.
Yeah, and we're still seeing a surge of red and lightning here coming out of Alachua County. So Keystone Heights down to Interlochen, even north of that tornado warning, that may be particularly strong winds. And along Highway 301 near and just south of Stark, extending into eastern Alachua County. That'll continue to lift to the northeast, so much of Clay County to be impacted. This is the peak of the storm here this afternoon. Over the next 1 to 2 hours from Highway 301 to I-95 to the coast and the beaches, this is it now. This is when you're going to see the potential for the highest end of severe weather, strong winds, maybe an isolated brief tornado. This is not the kind of pattern now I wouldn't expect where we'd have a long track tornado that would be on the ground for a long period of time. It would most likely be a quick spin up type thing. It does its thing, so to speak, and then moves on. And so there will not be a whole lot of advance warning, but safe to say there's going to be strong winds. And the squall line in the last 15 to 30 minutes does seem to have become a little bit more defined and a little stronger as it makes its move now east-northeastward across the area, Trevor.
To see that steady line there of the red coloring that stretches from southeast Georgia through Nassau County and into western suburbs of Jacksonville, and that goes all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. So there is still plenty of fuel here out ahead of this, in addition to the wind shear that we've been talking about. So there is support for this to maintain its intensity as we take it all the way to the coast. Now, with that said, we're not seeing the solid shield of strong damaging winds that you might have seen earlier this morning as we were tracking this the Florida Panhandle with a line of tornado warnings. That's not the case right now. Instead, it's a line of severe thunderstorm warnings, but we do still have that one tornado warning in Marion County south of Gainesville. We're going to be watching that carefully as that moves towards Putnam County, and so we're starting to see some more rain now impact Palatka. Parts of northern St. Johns County seeing the rain, but as Mike alluded to, we're still seeing that solid band of red quickly advancing towards Jacksonville. So that's going to contain the most inclement weather that we see this afternoon before this shifts offshore. And it is, again, right over I-95 in southeastern Georgia. So travel on I-95 this afternoon is pretty rough. So take it easy on the roadways, budget some extra time, and if you can, I'd advise avoid traveling, at least in the near term, while these push through.
And we do have a camera at I-10 in western Duval County. And here you go. You can see the spray of water here. Traffic's moving right along, but obviously there's some ponding of water, and it's going to be a slow go during the peak of these storms as they move from west to east. This is going to be a common sight this afternoon. There's a little bit less traffic in many cases because school was canceled in most areas, or at least let out early, and quite a few businesses closed early or let employees go home early, which is a good thing, a nice thing given this afternoon's stormy weather. And the storms extend southward to Alachua County. Gainesville still in a severe thunderstorm warning, but we did just get confirmation from the audio department here that UF is in session today. So FSU canceled classes. Tallahassee was under a tornado warning a little earlier this morning, but the University of Florida in session. And here's that heavier band of storms now that has made its way east of Highway 301 and is working through western Duval County. And sure enough, we are getting some spikes here on the wind estimates. This is a little lower to the ground, though, from the radar beam, so this may be a little bit closer to real time. And we're seeing winds between 50 and 60 miles per hour pretty consistently here. potentially from Bryceville southward near Maxville and Baldwin. There's Maxville here. Here's Baldwin on I-10, and so that'll quickly work its way east-northeast. In fact, it wouldn't be a bad idea to track these highest winds. The West Beltway at 295 in pretty short order here. With these stronger winds, and so Trevor's timing that out for you. And this is an approximate time of a kind of a burst of winds, if you will. Marietta at 324, Oakleaf at 326, Argyle Forest at 331, downtown Jacksonville at 335, and then Arlington, get a little east of Jacksonville, at 341. Looks like we still have our traffic cam at I-10. Looks pretty heavy there right now. It is pouring. So this is the actual line, Garrett, I would say, correct? Is where we're about at?
I shifted it just a little bit farther to the east, so we get into some of those winds, those high winds there, and so you can see the heavy rain as well.
Sheets of rain.
So that's that wind. You were just showing those brighter colors east of Baldwin, east of Highway 301, and near State Road 23.
Good call on that. You can see, yeah, boy, literally sheets of rain moving there, and then you can see the trees, and traffic's moving along. But it is slow this afternoon, and you're going to want to take some extra care. And again, if you are traveling any direction from Jacksonville, it is a very messy afternoon. North on I-95 all the way to the Carolinas to Virginia under tornado watch. West on I-10, obviously, here to about Lake City, then it clears out, and south on I-95. So here, look at this. These are all warnings that are in effect in the I-95 corridor. These are tornado warnings in the Carolinas, flood and flash flood warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, and that extends north. Savannah's under a severe thunderstorm warning. That extends northward all the way to Virginia, the severe weather. So it is, I-95 corridor is borderline nightmare this afternoon. It will improve quickly later tonight. And then that extends southward all the way down into, of course, Jacksonville and northeastern Florida, and then eventually is going to impact the I-95 corridor through St. Johns County southward all the way to Daytona, eventually all the way to Miami by later this evening, and is already impacting the Highway 301 corridor, obviously, and then I-42 through Orlando a little bit later this afternoon into early this evening. Looks like we received a wind report from Gainesville. Let's take a look at that and see what the report is, as that has just come in within the last few minutes, a report of a 52-mile-an-hour wind gust, which is kind of what we were thinking might be the average here overall based on what we're seeing on First Alert Doppler HD. Let's track this line now as it makes its move. This is the back edge of the most intense storms now. Once that moves through your neighborhood, it's not drying out completely, but it's improving. It's better. So that would include far western Duval County and points west, much of inland southeastern Georgia. These heaviest storms into downtown now in about 4 minutes. Palatka at 3:40. Looks like we've had an update on a severe thunderstorm warning for perhaps parts of southeastern Georgia. It looks like it's just going to remain in effect. Nocatee gets in on the heavier rain, stronger winds at 346. St. Augustine, 358, where it's really been a very quiet day so far. And Palm Coast, as we just edge into northern Flagler County, at about 414. You will notice that behind this line, there's still some rain and even some occasional lightning. There's some heavy downpours, but the storms, while heavy, do not appear to have that threat for as much severe weather as what we would see right along this line of red that extends from southeastern Georgia around Brunswick down to Kingsland to about Yulee now, Bryceville, northern Duval County, the International Airport, approaching the West Beltway at 295, right through Clay County into western Putnam County. Garrett?
I'm watching and monitoring here live the International Airport. There is the radar site, First Alert Doppler HD. Close to the radar, we're getting some velocity data coming in, some storm winds of 30 to 50 miles per hour. So that line is heading east to the International Airport. Let's take a live look at JIA right now in our Action News Jax First Alert Skycam network here that is awaiting those thunderstorms. There's the radar, First Alert Doppler HD, scanning the sky right now live. And we're awaiting those winds to make it all the way. We have an observation site there. We'll get a good dose of what is actually happening at the surface, but close to that radar. We've been telling you about the radar heights. We're getting close to it now, so that's pretty much getting some of that ground truth here, 30 to 40 miles per hour, if not just about 100 or 200 feet off the ground there. So again, we're watching this line here now progress to the east. This is the storm winds approaching the western beltway, the northwestern beltway, and the International Airport. It's already passed through Callahan right now in western Nassau County, and will eventually try to make its way into downtown Jacksonville with some of the gusty winds. I'm going to go over here right now to meteorologist Trevor Gibbs. Trevor, what you're monitoring here in the First Alert Weather Center?
Yeah, just kind of want to explain sort of the setup here as to why there is an enhanced risk for these severe storms to perhaps produce that brief tornado, and it comes to do with the wind directions, and you can very clearly see that here on this loop as we've been tracking that line of strong winds that Garrett just detailed approaching the airport. So those are winds coming in out of the west, but out ahead of it, you've got wind coming in from the south. And so those are winds in two different directions, and that's what allows for there to be some enhanced rotation in the atmosphere. And with wind as strong as it is high off the ground, it's not going to take much for some of these storms to produce those strong wind gusts and bring them down to the surface. But that's wind shear. You can have wind shear with different speeds of wind at different heights and different directions as well. And we've got both of those in place here. And out ahead of it, we've also got some instability, especially in St. Johns County, where, as we've mentioned, it's been a fairly quiet day so far, and that's allowed temperatures to heat up into the 70s, well into the 70s. So there is some extra instability in place, and that's going to continue to support the intensity of these storms as they move from west to east. Nocatee seeing some heavier rain right now, hearing a few rumbles of thunder as well. That's going to advance towards Ponte Vedra Beach and Sawgrass too over the next half hour. St. Augustine starting to see a little bit of an uptick in the rain, but the heavy stuff, Mike, is still to the west and southwest of St. Augustine.
You mentioned that instability. Garrett has pulled up our first alert neighborhood weather network powered by Tempest, and we can take a look at that on computer 2, and you can see some of these warmer temperatures now. It's 75, for example, at Sierra's Loop, 73 and still in Nocatee on the south side of Nocatee, and that warmer air is helping to fuel and feed these storms as they move to the north and northeast. Again, that's our first alert neighborhood weather station network powered by Tempest. More on that at actionnewsjax.com. Just click on weather. It'll be interesting as we continue through the afternoon to get in some of the rainfall reports from that network as well. Give us a nice coverage and density of just how much rain fell in your neighborhood. But here are the heaviest storms now moving into downtown Jacksonville. And that extends southward right through Middleburg and western Duval County. Boy, it's going to be messy here across Duval County over just the next few minutes. We are at I-10, not too far from I-295 on our traffic cam. So let's take a look at that real quickly, as the rain here was very heavy a few minutes ago, has at least come down in intensity some. Looks like a semi is stalled there on the side of the road, but traffic's still getting by okay. But at this particular location west of downtown Jacksonville on I-10 and west of 295, the rainfall intensity has at least let up now for the time being as we continue to track on First Alert Doppler HD the heaviest storms in Clay County. So here's Jacksonville at the top of your screen, moving through Middleburg and extending southward into Putnam County. It's pretty heavy. Moving to the northeast, again, this entire line now, all the I-95 corridor, all the way to the coast, is under a severe thunderstorm warning, or almost to the coast, for Nassau, Duval, Clay County, western Putnam County. Still no warning yet for St. Johns County. That may change in due time, of course. And the strongest and heaviest rain and wind and storms will now spread up across central and eastern Duval County over the next 20 to 30 minutes. And then that's going to be just about it for Duval County. There still will be some rain, but the heaviest and strongest storms will be continuing to push offshore, and the main threat would be Putnam and St. Johns County. For southeastern Georgia, the heaviest rain and storms now are right along the coast, extending from Kingsland and moving into St. Mary's, northward to Brunswick, still pouring in Brunswick. But you notice that back edge now is just about I-95. And again, while there's rain behind that will impact the area, much of southeastern Georgia, the severe weather threat should be lower once this main line of storms, where you see the red, moves through. Trevor?
And that's moving through quickly. We've been talking about the forward speed of these storms and already seeing some dry time now for parts of far western Duval County. Baldwin, a lessening of the rainfall, so it's lighter now. McClenny as well, seeing a bit of a break, although there is another downpour moving through northern Baker County. One thing I do want to point out that might be preventing more widespread, strong to damaging winds is that you'll notice there's not a clean front edge to this. We talk about that a lot, the leading edge containing the strongest winds, and a lot of times you can get these squall lines that come through and have a solid line right at the beginning, and that's where you'll see that push of extremely strong winds. And what happened today over the last couple of hours is some of these showers and storms developed out ahead of that main line, so that kind of prevented that solid line from moving through. So perhaps lessening the wind threat a bit, but still want to emphasize the severe thunderstorm warning means that there are wind gusts in excess of 58 miles per hour. So that is still something to take very seriously, and seeing some of that heavy rain through Middleburg right now, approaching downtown Jacksonville in the next couple of minutes. Very inclement weather now over the western beltway. That'll move into parts of the northeast beltway, the Dames Point Bridge. Going to see some gusty winds too, especially on the higher elevations and the overpasses, and now across 995 in Nassau County, approaching Fernandina Beach, Mike, in the next half hour.
So the good news is there's no tornado warning in effect at the moment in our viewing area. Tornado watch remains in effect, which means conditions are favorable for tornadoes. The severe thunderstorm warning is still in effect up and down the I-95 corridor. Damaging winds would appear to be our greatest threat. I noticed Garrett's been going through some of the First Alert Neighborhood Weather Network stations here, powered by Tempest. So let's take a look at that. We're now in Glynn County. This is the Brunswick area where we've seen this heaviest rain, and the rain got to first. And sure enough, more than an inch of rain at a number of spots here, including Woodbrook Way. We go southward here just a little bit into Clay County, northeastern Florida. We've also seen some heavier amounts of a ½ inch to an inch. Shorthorn at a little bit more than an inch of rain. And then we're also looking now at Baker County, where we're seeing amounts a little bit either way of about 1 inch. McClenny now at about 1.4 inches, so pretty impressive. And Duval County, finally, Metro Jacksonville, where still we have the majority of the rain and storms to move through, so the amounts aren't as heavy yet, generally averaging about 1/4 to a ½ inch, give or take. But Paddington Way has already managed to get up to 1.1 inches. And as that heavier rain continues to move into central and eastern Duval County, well, obviously then these numbers are going to go up. It looks like widespread inch to inch and a half amounts. An isolated spot or two could see 2 inches, and while that's heavy and can cause some localized ponding in some places and very short-term street flooding, it would not be particularly long-lasting, given the short duration of the heaviest rain. But we are saturated. I mean, it's been an unseasonably wet couple of months, and we have several storms ahead yet, as we'll be talking about in the First Alert 7-day forecast when we begin Fox 30 Action News Jax on the top of the hour at 4 p.m. Here's the heaviest rain now cutting right through the middle, through the heart of Duval County. We're still indicating gusty winds, at least, as these storms move in. We've had a number of reports of small tree limbs down, 40 and 50 mile per hour wind gusts as these move quickly to the north and to the northeast. But the good news is we're not seeing at this point tornadic circulations. We're not seeing anything that's isolated or that would be of particular concern from a tornado standpoint. Doesn't mean that couldn't still happen, but we're at least not seeing that right now. And then those heavy storms continue southward through all of Clay County, virtually all of Clay County, and northwestern portions of Putnam County. Behind that, there's a scattering of showers and a few thunderstorms, but the threat for severe weather should be lower because the air mass is becoming more stable behind this main line. The air is turning a little bit cooler, in other words, Trevor.
Mike, and I want to also point out, we just saw behind you there a lot of the lightning now leaving that tornado warning box in Marion County and quickly moving into western Putnam County there. So that does not include Palatka, but likely hearing some thunder. But do want to be keeping a close eye here. There's a lot of lightning, which is often an indication of an intensifying part of the thunderstorm, where we are seeing that move into parts of southern Alachua County, western Putnam County. And if you extrapolate that motion, that's going to continue lifting northeast into parts of northern Putnam County, into Clay County, and eventually that will be moving into St. Johns County, where there's still those light to moderate rain showers right now and wind gusts on the order of 15 to 25 miles per hour, which is not intense, but it's once you get into the thick of the storms, that's where the wind speeds are at their strongest, which right now is pushing right over the international airport here. We're seeing those dark reds and the oranges, and that's very heavy rain in and out. We just talked about the rainfall totals, a quick inch or two in some spots, helping to limit a larger flood threat. We've been talking about that for days now as well, but still seeing very heavy rain over downtown Jacksonville, up I-95 towards the zoo as well. So travel pretty hazardous. And again, where you're hearing the thunder, that's your clue to head indoors, because even though we're looking at the rain and the lightning and the thunder and the gusty winds, still not safe to be outside right now. Garrett.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at some of our sky cams, Trevor, as we go around the area. The very heavy rainfall now into Jacksonville. This is JIA, and we're still awaiting to see what that wind gust was coming through at the International Airport. If it was significant, we'll get an alert here of the next little bit, but we are seeing that heavy rain come through the International Airport at the moment right now. So we are also looking at some heavy downpours. We also have an updated tornado warning now. Let's go back to First Alert Doppler HD. Just seeing this in the corner of my eye. Now Putnam County under a tornado warning here. So we're on the air again for you here in Putnam County for an active tornado warning on CBS 47 and Fox 30 Action News Jack. So here it goes. That is until now 4 p.m. For this. This does not include Palatka proper, but it is just to the west. It includes Interlochen. You folks in Palatka will be watching this one too. So that's that cell we were just telling you about coming out of Marion County and heading with the lightning to the north and to the east. Perhaps we take a look at the velocity data and see what the latest frames look like here. As we zoom down to, say, southwestern Putnam County and into Marion County, heading out of Putnam, there's Interlochen right there, seeing some velocity data as well. But also to the south of that, we're seeing an area of an enhanced, say, color coming out just east of Highway 301. Again, this is hitting at about, likely 5,500 to 6,000 feet up into the sky. So there's that tornado warning where we're focusing this area right here, moving to the east and to the northeast. So it's showing 88. Again, that's elevated in the sky. Palatka, I want you to be watching this one. Palatka proper, Satsuma, you're not involved with this. Georgetown and also Crescent City, you're not involved with this tornado warning, but we still want you to pay attention to this. That is to the west. You can see the information there below us here. Tornado warning for Putnam County, western and central Putnam County, not including Palatka proper, until 4 p.m. Here, and that's racing off to the east-northeast. And it is radar indicated, nothing that has been observed by a storm spotter or observed via First Alert Doppler HD via any debris flying around right now. We'll check all of that for you here as we continue to watch this here on CBS 47 and Fox 30. But there is a 17, so again, it's not involving that. It is moving just out of Marion County and even portions of Alachua County to the east-northeast with this heavy cell. You can see that lightning continuing to increase. Here, we'll put a storm track on this, Trevor, when we can, and move that off into even Palatka. We'll track it for you. Again, not technically under the tornado warning, but by 4:04, this thunderstorm, what's ever left of it, and maybe it strengthens, who knows, as it moves off into your neighborhood by about 4 o'clock. Before that, Interlochen by 3:49. So right now it's 3:37. So by 3:49 in Interlochen, and that moves east-northeast pretty quickly, over 50 to 60 miles per hour with the direction of motion there for this active tornado warning for us here in Putnam County. Some updated data there coming in, some lightning strikes continuing. Let's go down to street level here and see what we can have pop up there for especially southwestern Putnam and northern Marion County there. Moving out County Road 21 there, South County Road 315. We're seeing that south of State Road 20. We're seeing the heavy rain and lightning there, and that again is moving to the east-northeast. Looks like Gordon Chapel Road, you're just now seeing that heaviest rain move off to the east of you at the moment. County Road 315, South County Road 315. We want you to be taking, if you live there, either side of that, your tornado precautions there, the lowest level of your home, away from windows, stuff like that, to keep you and your family safe. But Palatka, you're not technically under that tornado warning, but it is just to your west and southwest here today. Right now, as we look at the storm winds here, we call it velocity storm winds here at 338. We're still seeing that enhanced area of wind there, likely showcasing the potential of those damaging wind gusts that are trying to get down to the surface. May not be 80 to 90 mile an hour winds, but at the surface could be 40 to 50 plus miles per hour here now. Trevor, let's go ahead and take a look at some more areas here on First Alert Doppler HD, and then we'll come back to this one in the southern half of the viewing area.
Yeah, Garrett, also just want to briefly mention a lot of lightning with that storm as well, so that's going to be continuing to continue across parts of Putnam County. So a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning continues with the heavy rain this afternoon. Want to take us up to the north in Clay County, some widespread heavy rain right over downtown Jacksonville as well in Duval County, overspreading the area. That severe thunderstorm warning in place for Duval County until 3:45, the central part of the county. That does include most of Interstate 295, so that's where we're seeing the very heavy rain and the strong winds as well. That's now pushing into eastern Nassau County, so a severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for Fernandina Beach and Amelia Island until 3:45 this afternoon. These continue to quickly race east and northeast as well. Some lighter rain towards the Atlantic coast, Jacks Beach, Neptune Beach, and Atlantic Beach not under that severe thunderstorm warning at this time, which is good news, but the heaviest of rain and the strongest winds are still outside of your area. And St. Augustine seeing some of that steady rain beginning to pick up there from St. Augustine northward up towards the Duval and St. Johns County line. But the heaviest rain currently stretching right over downtown Jacksonville. A very slow go commute this afternoon, and that's also where we're seeing the gusty winds. We'll briefly touch into southeastern Georgia real quick as the heaviest band has now shifted east of Interstate 95 in Glynn and Camden counties right now. So still some moderate to heavy rain, but that is pushed towards the islands here. So St. Simon's Island, Jekyll Island, still seeing the heavy rain where we did have a couple of tornado warnings earlier this afternoon. Thankfully, no reports of damage as that shifted to the north and east offshore. But the main focus right now, Mike, continues to be Putnam County, where we are seeing that tornado warning there for central Putnam County, and that is until we head towards the 4 o'clock hour.
Right, about another 19 minutes or so, Trevor. And that was a good catch as that storm was coming out of Marion County. You were mentioning and tracking that cell, and sure enough, an uptick in the lightning, and it's that southern edge, the southern and southwestern corner of that storm. We see some of that broad rotation and the possibility of a tornado. People in Interlochen and near Interlochen should be alert right now for the possibility of damaging winds and maybe a quick tornado moving through. That means the lowest part of the building that you are in, out of mobile homes. Do not get into an automobile. Protecting your head and face, interior hallways, bathrooms offer the best protection. And then extending north from there, still plenty of heavy rain and storms that cut up right through Clay County, right up Highway 17, and then that takes us across the Buckman Bridge and into Duval County, where we have heavy rain now. It's still a severe thunderstorm warning is in effect as well, although we have not seen any winds that have been all that intense, at least so far, and eventually that's going to make it, the heavier rain will make it to the beaches. That'll also eventually impact much of St. Johns County. I would say that the highest risk for severe weather now for the next hour or so is going to be St. Johns, Clay, and Putnam County, possibly getting a severe storm into Duval County, especially eastern and southeastern Duval County. And then by 5 p.m., this should more or less be gone, pushing offshore to the east. So here's our winds on 5 Sweep First Alert Doppler HD, and you can see that blue color shading from Putnam County up into Clay County indicates likely gusts, pretty widespread, of at least 40 to 50 miles per hour, perhaps even stronger. Putting on here some of these winds that are again likely a little bit elevated because they're a little bit off the surface, a little bit higher up in the atmosphere, but we are indicating 60 to 65 to 80 mile an hour winds just up a little bit into the atmosphere. And sometimes the heavy rain can pull some of that wind all the way down to the ground. That would produce some tree damage and obviously power line damage. There's the possible circulation and why the tornado warning is in effect now for northern Marion and western portions of Putnam County. Still for the moment a little bit west of Palatka, but if that holds together, heads up for Palatka. That'll move to the north and to the northeast. Let's go ahead and track that once again. Just the circulation, Trevor, I think is probably our best bet. Tracking that north-northeast bound now through that polygon, that red polygon, if you will, and that would take it. We're going to go ahead and extend it through Palatka in case it gets that far. It would be 409 in Palatka, 347 Orange Springs, 4 o'clock Rodman, Francis at 405, and Yelvington at about 416, and that's the tornado warning for western portions of Putnam County that's now in effect. Not a real, call it solid or clear indication of a tornado at this point, but some of that may have to do with the distance away from the radar. This is now our debris tracker, not indicating anything particularly evident. For a tornado, you're not looking for something that's elongated like this. You typically are looking for something that's more circular, more concentrated. A different color would be an indication possibly of a tornado on the ground. So we don't necessarily see that at the moment, but something to keep an eye on. And definitely an uptick in the lightning now as we go through western portions of Duval County, western portions of Putnam County, but the storms extend northward all the way up through Clay and then eventually get into Duval County, Garrett.
Yeah, and so we just got our wind report in from the International Airport, gusted to 44 miles per hour as this band moved in. So below severe limits, technically, in terms of that. But the band of heaviest rain now pushing through the International Airport, downtown Jacksonville, over the Buckman Bridge, heading into areas like Fruit Cove, northwestern St. Johns County, Nocatee, over into St. Augustine, again, like we've been mentioning. But 44 is what we just got at the International Airport.
And that was a gust, Garrett. We've got a lot of questions about the bridges. This is not the kind of situation or pattern where you have sustained winds above that 40 mile per hour threshold that supposedly closes down the bridges, although we've seen that not necessarily be a hard rule in the last couple of years during the hurricane season. So it's likely that bridges are going to stay open this afternoon and this evening. There may be very brief periods where local authorities say, hey, we need to shut down this bridge for a little while, and then that could happen here and there. But I don't think you're going to see that in a widespread fashion or for any length of time this afternoon.
Yeah, so the heavy rain making it all the way to our local beaches now. At Jacksonville Beach, some heavier showers here. Also, again, Putnam County, we're tracking that thunderstorm that is now a severe thunderstorm, potentially producing a tornado. And so that's why the tornado warning is in effect until 4 p.m. And that's moving off to the east-northeast. The lightning increasing there on the northern side of that tornado warning polygon. So we're watching that one again until 4 p.m. Behind it, Lake Lake City, still seeing some gusty showers perhaps coming into your neighborhood, but also that is getting a lot better beyond this. Once you get through with these couple of showers behind that, we're really seeing a lot better situation. You're dropped from the tornado watch there, Columbia County up into Ware County as well in southeast Georgia. But as we continue to focus our attention here into western Putnam County, we are going to time that out for you. An updated look at that one here. Again, the lightning increasing here. Sometimes that could be an indication of a strengthening thunderstorm here in terms of when we're looking at a tornado warning. If it were to go into Palatka 4 o'clock, again, not technically under the tornado warning in Palatka, just giving you that first alert when you could see that strong thunderstorm there at the very least with some locally heavy downpours today. We've seen a ½ inch to an inch plus, in some spots over an inch to an inch and a half on our first alert neighborhood weather stations in spots that have already seen the locally heavy downpours and a couple of rounds of it as well. So as we look east of Highway 301, there is the intense winds, very bright colors here. This is aloft up above the ground where we are here at the surface, but gives us an indication of at least a rotating storm, some rotation there that has allowed the National Weather Service to believe there could be a tornado forming here, and conditions are susceptible to that. And there's the radar indicated there for Alachua, Marion, and western Putnam County. As it approaches 17, again, this is going to bring at least some heavy rain in eastern Putnam County there in and around Palatka, not under a severe thunderstorm warning or tornado warning as of right now. But again, that's for the central, just west of Palatka and southwestern Putnam County here, Trevor. So we're continuing to watch this. Another radar scan just came in updating that now.
Yeah, Garrett, and really want to focus just on this image here because this area is so far away from the Jacksonville radar. That beam, as we've been talking about, is so high off the ground that it doesn't give the most accurate representation of the wind at the surface. So you're seeing some of those high values there of the 80, 90 mile per hour. Those winds are there. It's just really high up off the ground. So you need the better look of what's closer to the ground. So heavy rainfall for sure. It's a little bit of a messy organization here. We're not seeing a clear indication that there's a couplet or any sort of debris signature, but there's enough rotation. There's enough wind shear and instability in place. The environment is supportive for that to prompt the issuance of this tornado warning, which does go until 4 o'clock this afternoon. And once again, it does not include downtown Palatka, but it does include much of central and western Putnam County here with a lot of lightning. So it's a loud afternoon. We're hearing some thunder here as well over Duval County and Metro Jacksonville as these continue to very quickly race off to the east and northeast. And you can see as we put that into motion, just a lot of lightning, especially for a January weather event where we're seeing these cooler temperatures compared to what we typically see with our summertime thunderstorms. Today, it doesn't really matter. We've got the perfect setup there for seeing those storms form, and that's going to continue to race east and northeast with time. As I zoom it out, we'll continue to take a look at the rain now moving through central Duval County. It's very heavy as well. So Jacksonville, downtown, over up to Springfield, Murray Hill, Riverside, Avondale, all those neighborhoods seeing some heavier rain. To the beaches, it's still rather light, but you'll notice just off to the southwest, that's where it does pick up in intensity, and we're going to continue to track that through this afternoon. And I also noticed there's no severe thunderstorm warning, although they just issued it there. So you see the flashing yellow box there. So a severe thunderstorm warning now in effect for central and eastern Duval County, as well as northern and central St. Johns County, or most of St. Johns County. So that is a new severe thunderstorm warning. We'll go ahead and put the auto query on here just to see. This is until 4:15 this afternoon. It does include Clay, Duval, Nassau, St. Johns County, and it is until 4:15. And again, it's just for that line of solid red that you see here on the radar that we've been tracking, the original squall line, if you will, as that races to the coast. That's what is prompting the issuance of that severe thunderstorm warning, now in place until 4:15 this afternoon. For the rest of Duval County, the rest of Clay County, most of St. Johns County as well, where we're going to be tracking the heavy rain and the gusty winds. And we'll take one more look there at the tornado warning that's just outside of Palatka, another look, I should say, for that warning that goes until 4 o'clock. Still a lot of lightning with it. That's moving quickly east and northeast. We'll track that towards Palatka. Not seeing, again, any signs of a significant organization with this, but certainly enough to warrant the issuance of that tornado warning. So we'll track that line of heavy rain and lightning too, heading east-northeast very quickly. Hollister by 250, Hunter, or 350, Hunter 355, the Palatka Airport 359, right around 4 to 405 near Palatka, and that will continue towards the St. Johns River as we go into the next couple of minutes. Mike, as you are taking a look at this, quickly moving east.
It is, Trevor. And of course, those severe thunderstorm warnings, as you mentioned, now cover all of St. Johns County, which has largely been unscathed so far this afternoon. It extends northward up into eastern Duval County, eastern Nassau County, and then into southeast Georgia, eastern Camden and eastern Glynn County. Still under severe thunderstorm warning, and we'll continue to track carefully that potential tornado west of Palatka. And there are also a couple little circulations within this line, possibly in Clay County, that we're closely monitoring, tracking. That could end up triggering a quick tornado warning as well. Once that red area gets through your area, that line that's more solid, that's the back edge. It will still be some additional rain behind it, even some lightning and thunder, but the severe weather threat should at least be a little bit lower. Now, Emily Turner is getting ready here at the microphone. Will be on beginning at 4 p.m. with our Fox 30 Action News Jackson newscast. It's regularly scheduled, and if the tornado warning is allowed to expire, we'll go to our typical newscast at 4 p.m. on Fox 30. But in the meantime, you can see some of the reports that we're getting in courtesy social media, whether it be Facebook fan page, Twitter, or Instagram. Tallahassee and the Panhandle, particularly hard hit. Panama City as well. There's a marina in Panama City that was devastated by Hurricane Michael, recently reopened and hit by a tornado early this morning. And then we had semis that were tipped over on I-10, trees down in the road as well as those storms moved through the Panhandle. So far, the damage appears to have been relatively limited for most of northeastern Florida and southeast Georgia. That's the good news as far as we can tell at this moment. Again, in about 8 minutes, we'll begin Fox 30 Action News Jax. It will continue with continuous coverage as long as the tornado warning is in effect, which is until 4 p.m. for Putnam County. And of course, then again, if additional tornado warnings are issued, otherwise it's a severe thunderstorm warning that's in effect for St. Johns County, the eastern half of Duval, eastern Nassau, and on up into southeastern portions of Georgia. Trevor?
Point out another look here at the velocity data, the storm winds out ahead of that line, and you'll notice there's a few curves in the line as we go from north to south, and so that is still indicative of the rotation. So we're still going to have to watch this very carefully. Severe thunderstorm warnings in place currently until 4 and 4:15 across the area, but some strong winds in excess of 50 to 60 miles per hour definitely possible. The International Airport gusted to 45, which is more than enough to take down a few tree limbs and perhaps a power line or two. But the surge of strong wind, where you see these blue colors there, that's in excess of 65 miles per hour. I'll just click on a few to sample here. 72 off the ground, not on the ground, but still could see a good portion of that, 40 to 50, perhaps even 60. And the criteria for a severe thunderstorm warning, Garrett, is 58 miles per hour, so a little bit stronger than that in some areas.
Yeah, we are tracking that into St. Johns County here on First Alert Doppler HD. If we go over to our max number 2, we have a camera there from downtown in the St. Augustine Marina looking into the western skies. Those heavy showers are approaching. You can see there's 76 degrees there, gusting to 30 miles per hour right there at the marina with First Alert Doppler HD information there, moving off to the east and northeast, and we're tracking those winds. But it's definitely mild and muggy as in real time here. A live look in St. Johns County as those showers approach from west to east here. We'll be tracking this and watching this. Also, another look on our First Alert Skycam network there from St. Augustine as well, looking into the northern sky from the White Room there on Avenida Menendez here. There's the Castillo de San Marcos. You can see not too bad, but we are tracking also a new tornado warning that is now in effect. Can you hear it? Right now we have...
From your First Alert Weather app.
Came from the First Alert Weather app. Wow, yeah, there it is, right? In for St. Johns County and Duval County here. So let's go ahead and get that information. We're seeing the circulation. Trevor's got it pulled up here. This is looking like just near and south of Fruit Cove, south and west of Racetrack Road, the circulation crossing the St. Johns River and having some opportunity to perhaps get a little bit organized. This is north of you in County Road 210 in northern St. Johns County here. This tornado warning goes until over the next several minutes or so at least. Until Trevor's looking it up right now. We'll 4:15. So we have a new tornado warning. There's the polygon. We got to that before the polygon even popped up here on First Alert Doppler HD. So there we go. That circulation here, Mike, continues up near State Road 13. We're going to watch this for the South Beltway and State Road I-95 and the South Beltway as it moves off to the east and to the northeast. Mandarin, you're involved with this. Also Bay Meadows area and the E-Town area and there on Southside Boulevard, Mike. We're tracking this in the more populated area. area, especially here now.
It is, and it's a pretty strong circulation as well. We have a series of traffic cameras. Let's try to get those up, you guys, on the Southeast Beltway at 295, 9B. Racetrack Road will be impacted. Here's the circulation, and it's very near Fruit Cove, so take your tornado precautions right now. What are tornado precautions here? Well, we don't have basements, of course. If you've just moved here, it's a new thing for you. Stay calm first and foremost, but also get into an interior hallway or bathroom. Typically offers better protection. Get out of mobile homes. Do not get into an automobile. Protect your head and face with something that's convenient. A pillow will oftentimes work nicely, a blanket. And talk with your kiddos that are home. A lot of kids are home today because school was canceled or is already out in some cases. Keep them calm. We realize that we'll get through all this together, come out the other end, and we'll be okay later this afternoon, but that you should take the weather seriously. And in this case, it's a tornado warning now. And there's another alert coming out, as you can hear, over northern portions of St. Johns County into southeastern Duval County. Unfortunately, on the cable networks, we will be interrupted from this regular programming, nonstop programming, until they do their thing with that obnoxious tone and then the automated voice that you hear, and then they'll come back to us. But in any case, headed northeastbound into Bayard at 4:02. Atlantic Coast High School, that's very near E-Town, at about 4:05. Ponte Vedra at 4:12, Neptune Beach at 4:15, and it's because of this developing circulation. I'll tell you what, you guys, about 10 minutes ago, Trevor and Garrett, this was just showing hints and signs of trying to organize and develop. And you guys mentioned those notches along the line of storms, and this is one of those notches. And one of them has started to kind of take off, if you will, and rotate. You're seeing what you see on First Alert Doppler HD in this case. A lot of times we show you the rain. Most of the time, this is wind. And what you're seeing here is a circulation. These are raindrops moving away from the radar. These are raindrops moving toward the radar. It ultimately means a circulation, and that's what's triggered the tornado warning. It's a radar-indicated tornado. It's not confirmed yet as being visible or on the ground, but it's certainly something we're going to carefully track. We have a traffic cam. Looks like a lot of rain on this one. Let's take a look at it real quickly here as we continue to track a possible tornado in northern St. Johns and southeastern portions of Duval County. This is I-95 in Greenland, so this is southeastern Duval County. Obviously, you can see it's pouring here. Headlights are on. It's a slow go. Looks like we have some flashers on there, which is legal now in Florida on a couple of these vehicles. And severe weather warning, use caution. No question, no doubt about that. We also want to check, let's check the debris tracker maybe. It'd be a good idea to look at here as this possible tornado heads to the northeast. This does not tell us at this point that there's a tornado on the ground. We don't see evidence of it using the debris tracker. It doesn't mean that one couldn't form any minute or any second. But at the moment, we are tracking what appears to be a circulation a little bit aloft in the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. This will cross Racetrack Road in the next few minutes in the southeast beltway of I-95 and 295 and 9B. Garrett?
What we have been telling you about for a long time. We can take max number 2 behind us. We are seeing just another way to showcase the velocity data here. Let's go ahead and show max 2, the shear indicator here near Switzerland, Julington Creek, near and south of Fruit Cove. This lags just a bit behind the velocity data, so the potential tornado is likely to the north here near Racetrack Road, moving off to the north and to the east. We were just showing you there I-95 south of Greenland Road. That will be a potential path it could take off to the north and east up this way. So we are tracking that here on First Alert Doppler HD. So Racetrack Road, this is the strongest signature we have seen all day. Bayard, we want you to be getting in your tornado safe place. Old St. Augustine Road right there at I-95. Again, it's back to the southwest, but these are moving pretty quickly at 60 plus miles per hour to the north and to the east. So Fruit Cove, Racetrack Road area. We also have an updated look at our tornado warning coming in now, unless it's another tornado warning we need to talk about. But this is the one that's heading even into the E-Town area here potentially over the next several minutes. 60 plus miles per hour here is what we're tracking. So again, that is the turbulence in the atmosphere, the potential, Mike, for this tornado, if it is on the ground, to move to the east-northeast.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, heads up Old St. Augustine Road, Racetrack Road, Bartram Park Boulevard, E-Town, Bayard, nearby areas. You should be prepared for at least high winds and possibly a tornado. The new tornado warning, Garrett and Trevor's going to have that in a minute, is for southeastern portions of Putnam County, a little south of Jacksonville, obviously, and that's the southern end of the line that's been very active the last couple of hours, headed to the northeast.
We'll put max number 1 up behind us, and we'll showcase these, Mike, here. Trevor's working that right now. There's near and south of Palatka, and there's the circulation moving out of Marion County to the northeast.
Right up toward Palatka, Highway 17. For all intents and purposes, this does include Palatka. It's kind of on that very northern edge of the polygon, but let's not split hairs here this afternoon. That's another pretty strong indication here. Certainly aloft to some degree at least, but Trevor showing us those arrival times into Norwalk at 4:15, Willaca at 4:18, Satsuma, southern Putnam County 4:22, Shell Bluff at 4:29. We have seen sometimes that these cells have had a tendency to wrap a little bit northward as they intensify and kind of get that circulation a little more organized. So we want to have a little heads up north of there as well toward Palatka.
So Putnam County now, southeastern Putnam County, a tornado warning. Back to the metro area, here we go. That circulation is there.
Right here. Yeah, there's the circulation. It'd be well west of Nocatee. Garrett, looks like it would be very close to Julington Creek now. Approximately a little north of Fruit Cove. Here's the Southeast Beltway at 295 in E-Town.
Southside Boulevard there on I-95, and that would be, again, by the time you see it here, it's already off to the northeast, so it's moving really quickly. There's an updated scan right over I-95 right now. There, I'm going to try to go find it on the Skycam as well.
All right, so Garrett's going to work Skycam. I'm going to go to the wall here. Trevor, we're looking like it's widened just a little bit, perhaps. That circulation's broadened a little bit.
It was just a few frames ago, but you can see behind you there the closely tied together the greens and the reds, and extrapolating that. If you're in Jack's Beach right now, please watch this very closely. You do have that tornado warning that goes all the way to the coast, including Neptune Beach, Atlantic Beach, Jack's Beach, Ponte Vedra as well. But the nearest threat would be towards E-Town and 9B, as well as parts of the Southwest Beltway. It's not as tight as it was just a few minutes ago. These things can spin up very quickly. They can fall apart rather quickly as well. But we do have that tornado warning that is in effect here all the way through the Atlantic coast for the next couple of minutes. So please take your tornado precautions. That's first and foremost, stay calm. Secondly, get inside, get into the lowest level of the building that you're in. The goal is to surround yourselves with as many walls as possible here as we are tracking these strong winds coming through. I'm going to change the view of this just to show you the normal radar, what people are used to seeing, and a lot of red. So we've got a lot of heavy rainfall, gusty winds, and lightning with this as well. So if there were a tornado, it would be harder to see because there's a lot of heavy rain that would obscure the visibility. But you've got to be in your safe place now, Grand Bay Parkway as well. This is just west of Nocatee, so not in the direct path of Nocatee, but Nocatee, you are technically in the tornado warning, as well as parts of Southern Bay Meadows, Mandarin, and Fruit Cove too. So we're watching this very quickly and very closely, moving to the east and northeast at a quick pace at about 55 miles per hour. I want to take another look there at the velocity data. This is that couplet of different wind directions. You see the reds, you see the greens, that's air moving in different directions. That's the circulation right now near Old St. Augustine Road, I-95 towards 9B, State Road or Highway 1, the Southwest Beltway towards E-Town as well. Timberland Forest Drive a little bit displaced from that area of rotation, but still likely seeing some strong winds and very heavy rain soon. But this is the focus here, and I'll just backtrack it a little to show you what it looked like a couple minutes ago, and you'll see the dark blue color there at the bottom left of the screen. So that's a tighter circulation, indicating stronger winds and more likely instance of a tornado compared to what we have right now. But as these situations quickly evolve, we got to take those safety precautions. So we'll zoom it out. Strong winds stretch all the way south through central St. Johns County, where there is a severe thunderstorm warning. We've also got the heavy rain and lightning that continues, and we'll take it over to Garrett here as we're continuing to track the storm moving all the way to the coast.
Yeah, we'll put computer 2 behind me here right now, looking at to see if there's anything potentially coming up into the sky. This is what we're watching right now on I-95. Could be some debris. This is near and south of Baptist South here, Old St. Augustine Road there, Bartram Park Boulevard.
Right on I-95, Garrett.
There is some indication. I have the first alert traffic camera we'll put up behind us as well.
Let's take a look at it.
This is near or north of Old St. Augustine Road. A minute ago it was whiteout conditions.
It still is. So I-95, Old St. Augustine, Garrett.
This is just to the north. So when I was trying to find you a good camera here, at Old St. Augustine Road, it was completely white out. I couldn't tell if it was the camera gone or if it was just completely white out. So I went just to the north, and we're still seeing this heavy rain there.
Let's go back and track the possible debris ball. Well, again, you're looking, we typically look at radar, first alert Doppler HD with rain. In this case, it's debris. All day long, we've been carefully watching for something like this, where you see a very tight, localized area of color. What that indicates is that there's possible debris. It's objects that are larger and in much different size than raindrops, and so you get an exaggerated color like this that's crossing I-95. We can't confirm it, but it is a hint of a possible tornado here, Garrett, crossing I-95 very near Baptist South Hospital and then it would cross Highway 1, or Phillips in other words, and be very near Bayard, and in crossing 9B, probably just staying, well, it's going to be darn close to E-Town, but maybe just a little south of E-Town. And again, we are in a populated area now. A bunch of subdivisions have popped up in the last 10 to 15 years in this area. And this is a dangerous storm now, crossing I-95. Remember, we don't, I've had several emails the last couple of days, people that have moved here from up north, Garrett, said, hey, what do we do during a tornado here? You don't have basements. Get in the interior hallway or a bathroom, stay away from windows, protecting your head and face, get out of mobile homes, and do not get in an automobile.
So 9B, if you're in the E-Town area, I want you to be taking your tornado precautions as well, as this is already, if there is something on the ground, northeast of where we're showing you right now, because it takes a minute or two to get this radar image to you after it scans the sky. So we are tracking there on US 1, the Bayard area, over into and heading to the northeast. So again, near and south of E-Town Parkway, just a little bit to the north there, but this is moving off quickly to the north and to the east right now. But the strongest signature we've seen so far this morning. Trevor's got some new information.
Okay, Trevor.
Just an update here with this tornado warning, guys. The back edge has been clipped off, so Fruit Cove, you're in the clear from this. Mandarin as well, as we're continuing to track this near Bayard, just south of E-Town. But areas west of there no longer under that tornado warning, so a little revision here. It's still in place all the way to the coast, A1A, Ponte Vedra Beach, up to Jack's Beach as well. Technically, you are in that tornado warning, so please keep a very close eye on this. And we're continuing to see just another scan there of what could be a debris signature there showing up on First Alert Doppler HD, now heading just north and east of Highway 1. So pretty serious situation, at least in terms of the warnings that we've seen today. This is the most well-defined indication that we could have some damage from a possible tornado.
And Trevor, it does look like it's maybe turned a little bit to the right, a little bit to the east right now. As Garrett and I have been talking about, here's E-Town, so it looks like it would stay, if it maintains itself here, a little south of E-Town, very close here to Nocatee, the north edge of Nocatee.
20
ocean, 20 mile, exactly. There's the circulation here now, and we are live simulcasting WOKV on the radio side, 104.5 WOKV. Again, we are tracking a possible tornado. If you're on the interstate or a highway in southeastern Duval County, we advise you to stay put for the moment and let this possible tornado move on by, as it's now crossed I-95 and is moving into far southeastern Duval, northern St. Johns County. We're on a split screen now, and on the left-hand side is the south side and I-95 and
it's like
racetrack. Yep, racetrack road. You can see people driving slowly with their flashers on now because the visibility is so poor. So that storm continuing to move quickly now to the northeast with a possible tornado.
And the interesting part, I'm just thinking out loud here, weather-wise, talking shop here, we were looking at that potential debris signature. It was displaced a little bit from where the velocity signature was here. So in order to say, hey, it's a debris ball, you want it right near each other. But the wind is so intense right now that may have, if it was something on the ground, may have blown it a little bit.
Offset a little.
Offset a little bit. So just something to consider as we're watching this. The wind is roaring.
Yeah, it is. And so that's a good point. And it's actually getting stretched out now, which would be more of an indication perhaps of straight line winds, maybe.
And it would have been brief if it was a touchdown.
Very brief. Good point.
And move off to the east-northeast. So we are awaiting to see if there's been any damage here locally, or if this maybe some trees snapped, or if it even was on the ground. But it was at least an indication where we may have something there. But the
definitely have lost the circulation compared to earlier. Doesn't mean there couldn't be a tornado there or one that quickly forms, but it is not as well organized as it was just a few minutes ago.
And this is approaching the intracoastal now. This is going to be crossing into, this is just south. There's JTB right there, Ponte Vedra, A1A. So this could move off, maybe even briefly become a waterspout over the intracoastal and then back over land. But again, this is at least weakening some at this moment.
So heads up the north side of Nocatee, 20 miles we mentioned, Sawgrass, Ponte Vedra, Michler's Landing, extending maybe as far north as Jack's Beach. Technically is in the tornado warning. Again, we are simulcasting on 104.5 WOKV. If you're on the highways and interstates in Duval County, the best advice is if you're east of I-95 is to stay put. If you're in St. Johns County, also to stay put and use your tornado precautions. Corey Sima, who's been working nonstop the last several days too, of course, has also just texted that he's saw that circulation as it approached Fruit Cove, and it also looked very impressive. But he thought ahead, and we're going to go back to a little bit of shop talk, weather speak here, is that he thought it had occluded. And what that means is that it has had so much circulation that it rotates around and kind of cuts itself off. And it loses its source of energy, the warm, humid, unstable air, and then that usually causes the tornado to either weaken or dissipate, which appears to have occurred over the last few minutes at least.
Yeah, so a scary looking radar signature near and south of Old St. Augustine Road here. We were tracking there as it moved quickly to the east and northeast, and then more to the east-northeast, more easterly, I should say, I guess.
Right. Here we go back. Nice job, Trevor.
Yeah.
So there it is, very near Fruit Cove, when it did appear that we had a possible tornado here, Garrett. And as you mentioned, moving east-northeastbound, it kind of started to stair-step a little northward, then turned, as it weakened probably, it makes sense, turns a little more toward the east here.
So that's 9B right there. So it likely, if it was spinning as it passed over, if not there close to the ground, and now weakening. And so you see more wind also heading towards Beach Boulevard, or on Beach Boulevard, crossing the ditch in the next couple of minutes into Jacksonville Beach. We have a new severe thunderstorm warning now. There's the polygon highlighted there, and also an updated look at the tornado warning.
Yep, there we go. So the tornado warning, again, as Trevor's been mentioning, shaving off the western edge as the storm accelerates to the east. No surprise, it now puts the strongest winds within the tornado warning. There's still some indications of a bright pocket, maybe a weak broad circulation there, which would be moving up across Sawgrass and Ponte Vedra and A1A in the next few minutes. And if we go a little south from there, Trevor, to Nocatee, that's the south edge of the tornado warning. So it technically includes the northern parts of Nocatee, maybe as far south as 20 Mile. And more than anything else, over eastern Duval County in particular, Trevor, it would appear we have quite a bit of wind.
Yeah, I would say straight line wind becoming more of a concern, guys, is that couplet definitely becoming less defined over the last couple of frames. So that is encouraging news in terms of the tornado standpoint, although this is still under a tornado warning all the way to the coast of Duval and St. Johns County here. So this flashing red is the update. So shaving it off now, 9B towards E-Town, looking at some relief there from this warning, but heading towards Ponte Vedra Beach in northern St. Johns County, as well as eastern Duval, Jacks Beach included, South Jacks Beach near JTB, interstate, or rather Highway A1A, likely going to see some of those strong winds and heavy bands of rain. Just another check up with our debris tracker here, continuing to track nothing too well defined in terms of a debris signature, although we do think we briefly saw that debris signature earlier, just a couple of minutes ago. So it is possible that a tornado did touch down right there over 9B. You can see here this little yellow speck and orange speck. Yeah, so you can see it above the banner.
Yeah.
So we'll slide that up to the north there. So you see that speck of orange there in yellow. Could have been a brief tornado, as the colors here, you see a lot of pink. Where you don't see pink, that's objects that aren't similar in shape or size, and that's what we look for when we look for debris from a tornado. Sticks, leaves, metal perhaps, wood, any sort of other object that's not rain droplets, right? So that thankfully did not last too long, stretching out a bit, but that tornado warning, Mike, is still in place for the next couple of minutes here as we head into eastern St. Johns and eastern Duval County.
Yeah, Trevor, and the very heavy rain and the high wind threat now to our beaches. So Atlantic Beach, Neptune Beach, far north is Mayport, south through Jacks Beach, Ponte Vedra, and then extend southward. We still do also have the tornado warning for parts of Putnam County, and that's a different cell. So we're continuing to track what appears to be a weakening circulation over Duval and northern St. Johns County. The tornado warning looks like it's been taken away for Putnam County, perhaps? Okay, so they have discontinued the tornado warning. The National Weather Service has discontinued the Putnam County tornado warning. A severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect. And looking at this, I wouldn't see anything that looks particularly suspicious at the moment. Garrett is in the First Alert Weather Office right now, checking out our traffic cams and sky cams to see what we might be seeing, because we do have a Jacks Beach First Alert sky cam. Let's, if we can, pull that up real quickly. It's apparently not operating at the moment, that may be storm related, of course. And there's the winds now, the velocities on 5-Sweep First Alert Doppler HD. We can show you the rain and we can show you the winds as well. So here are the stronger winds now into Atlantic Beach and Neptune Beach, perhaps as far north as Mayport, extending down to just north of Nocatee. Do we want to try to throw some winds on there maybe, Trevor? And then we're going to go south from there because it looks like St. Johns County has quite a bit of wind. There we go, 56 miles per hour. 47, strong, not incredibly intense, but strong, and enough to cause some tree damage perhaps and power lines. And then heading southward into St. Johns County. Look at this west of St. Augustine. So heads up St. Augustine. We have a First Alert Skycam in St. Augustine too. And there's that wind getting at a 68 mile per hour pixel there, 48 miles per hour. There's another 68. Again, that's a little elevated. It's a little bit into the upper levels parts of the atmosphere, but stands to pretty good chance here that this rolls into St. Augustine in the next 10 minutes with some strong and gusty, possibly damaging winds. On the left-hand left-hand side of your screen, that is St. Augustine right now. That's our First Alert Skycam network. Obviously, it's wet, it's raining, but notice the trees aren't moving much. So awaiting the stronger winds and the red that's here, St. Augustine's in rain, no doubt. And there's an update on the severe thunderstorm warning, which continues now for a good part of central and northern portions of St. Johns County. Just getting that update now on our First Alert weather app, which you can download for free. And on a day like today, it's priceless, you guys, as we stream even live on our First Alert weather app. So here are those stronger storms crossing I-95, Highway 1, then A1A, and it'll be into St. Augustine, an area that really hasn't had much so far today. From a timing standpoint, this has just about been right on, has gone just about as expected and as forecast, and the heavy rain extends back into Putnam County. For Duval County, we'll continue to carefully track this cell that possibly produced a tornado in southeastern Duval County. We've just had a storm report come up along I-95. Let's take a look at that, Trevor, near the Duval and there we go. Widespread wind damage and possible tornado just south of Bayard. And they indicated a possible TDS. That's exactly, y'all, that's exactly what Garrett, Trevor, and I were talking about with a possible debris ball as it was moving just south of Bayard on First Alert Doppler HD. Spot on. Good work, gentlemen. And we hope that everybody is safe in this situation because we are getting reports of damage now. We hope there are no injuries. We've been on air for hours now. We've been giving you the first alert going back to yesterday, Sunday, and last week. We have something from JTB, I believe. Jack's Beach. Okay, let's take a look at Jack's Beach right now. We have reporters headed to the scene, by the way, of this possible wind damage and tornado damage. Jack's Beach, rough seas, rough surf, no surprise there. You're looking at, of course, at the Jack's Beach Pier. Which camera is this in the control room? Is this our Skycam? Okay, we want to turn that. Something that's not looking at we want to get a look at the tree. So we're going to turn that here in a minute. As we continue to track now a severe thunderstorm that did contain a tornado. Looks like we have an update here. Let's take that away, Trevor, and go to the radar. Let's make sure we don't have a new circulation over eastern Duval. Looks like they've taken it away.
Yep. It's moved offshore. The circulation's offshore now.
So the tornado warning is canceled. It's no longer in effect. But we do have damage left behind, of which we're trying to figure out the extent of that. It is not terribly far from the station. We should have a crew there in minutes. We had two of them stationed, actually, one on the west belt, right here, west beltway of 295. We had another crew stationed on the east beltway of 295, so they'll be down here soon. Let's zoom in here, Trevor, to the icon and just get an exact location here. And we're seeing it, it was mentioned to be just south of Bayard. So there's 9B, there's E-Town. So this stayed a little south of E-Town. It would have been near Bartram Park. We don't know the extent of the damage. We don't know how serious it is. We don't know if there have been any injuries. But there's widespread wind damage at least and reported to be a possible tornado. And it did correlate with that debris ball. Which if maybe we want to go back and take a look at that real quickly. What that looked like when we were live on the air. Garrett caught that on the air with our First Alert Storm Tracker and our First Alert radar. And here it is. As we go back, this is the racetrack. This is now, that's when it likely had a tornado. This is at, this was at 3:56. So this was roughly 20 to 25 minutes ago. And then we're moving to the debris, and there it is. And this is what we suspected was a possible tornado. Crossed Interstate 95. There may very well be damage in and around the I-95 area. Let's see, if you go south here on I-95, you've got the rest stop, you've got Racetrack Road, Old St. Augustine. So that would be very, as Garrett pointed out earlier, Baptist South. That would be very near Baptist South, Garrett. Right?
To the south of that, and we're efforting a reporter to head down to this location right now here in our newsroom to see if we can find any damage. And we are seeing that, just near and south is where we were tracking it here. And we were seeing, hey, that could be something that could be on the ground. And so First Alert Doppler HD, many tools. And so this is one of them. And if we go to our traffic camera network, I believe I'm looking at Racetrack Road right now. This is I-95 at Racetrack Road, just to the north, or just to the south of where this debris is. I'm going to go up and look at some more cameras here, but you can see traffic flowing here from this perspective. Again, just to the south of where that potential tornado was there. So we'll go back to this, and I'll shift the cameras up to the north just a bit. I'll go up and select them here in just a second, Mike. But yeah, this was that debris signature we caught for you on First Alert Doppler HD and showed you in real time as that potential tornado there moved across I-95 pretty quickly. We've just gotten in some wind and rain video. You guys are sending it in now from Fruit Cove, just to the west of that debris signature. And now, again, that has moved off to the east and to the northeast, guys.
I have a report on at 20 Mile from 8 minutes ago in the Nocatee area. We were talking about how close this circulation would be to 20 Mile. Reported about a 60-second squall. So 1 minute of high winds and very heavy rain, and then it was gone. Also another report from Nocatee. This is the trail mark area that person was napping and was woken up by the high winds as they buffeted his residence. So we're getting a number of reports. We just don't know the extent of the damage and whether or not it's anything of great consequence, but we do know that the public has reported quote unquote widespread wind damage, at the very least, very near an area that appeared to be a possible tornado. Now, in putting everything in together now, and let's take a wider view, Trevor, because first and foremost, we need to know, how long is this going to last, right? How much more severe weather will there be? And the good news is not a whole lot, quite honestly. There still are showers and thunderstorms coming in from the west. That's going to add to our rainfall totals. And there'll be some heavy downpours and gusty winds. And the ground's saturated. We've had a lot of rain, unseasonably wet last 3 months or so, 2.5 months. And so that could easily uproot some trees. And we also will have to carefully track Putnam and central and southern St. Johns County, where we have still some heavy thunderstorms and lingering instability. It's St. Augustine, Hastings, Elkton, Marineland, Palm Coast, westward to Palatka, and nearby areas of Putnam County, Georgetown, Crescent City that we'll have to watch for the greatest threat for severe weather now. In fact, we have a Skycam in St. Augustine. Let's take a look at that, our First Alert Skycam network. And by the way, I'm looking at my phone and my watch because I'm getting the new updated information, warnings, damage reports in both places. But this is St. Augustine now. Still not anything too dramatic. The wind is blowing, but it's not overly strong right now. And you can see the wet roads, but again, a lot less traffic today as people have heeded the warnings and the First Alert Weather Day that we hoisted back on Sunday, early in the morning. Trevor was here 5 in the morning. Talking about a First Alert Weather Day and then going really back to late last week. And we have a report, say again, Danielle, in the news booth. Okay, Emily's got reports about some of the wind damage apparently, but just to sum it all up again right now, severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect for parts of St. Johns and Putnam County. That's our greatest concern for right now. Duval County, still some heavy rain, but the severe weather threat appears to have diminished. Emily?
All right, thanks so much, Mike. Now, while the guys regroup and get ready to keep track of everything that's happening now, I'm going to go through exactly what we've seen starting in the early morning hours as this storm moved in our direction. Of course, it moved across the Panhandle first, and we've been collecting video throughout the day to show you just how bad this storm has been and where it's hit across the state. Let's start in Tallahassee here. City of Tallahassee posting this. You can see just bands of wind and rain moving through the Capitol, and this is important because legislative session started today. State of the state started today. Governor Ron DeSantis and all the lawmakers there as well, amid all of this absolute just crazy weather that we've had happening. Some of the earlier reports we've seen have been from Panama City Beach. Now, this says that me and the kid went out to see the damage. This is my street, our poor town. This marina has just now fully recovered from Hurricane Michael. And look at this. All of these boats just off the trailers. It's kind of hard to see what all that power lines down. This is some pretty significant damage. And there's some massive power outages that have been following that as well across the Panhandle. And of course, it's affecting the roadways as it moved across the Panhandle. So thus I-10 seeing some major issues. A semi truck knocked over down to one lane as folks are moving from the west to the east as they're moving through Marianna, Florida. Again, another place that they've confirmed that there were tornadoes. Trees down as well. This is on I-10 eastbound in Greenville, Florida. Let's move down. Oh, actually, this one here. Okay, Jimmy Petronis took a helicopter tour, and look at this damage. I mean, these are just leveled. Roofs gone. It's hard to even tell what some of this stuff is. I believe this, though, is the marina that we saw the other folks tweet about. But I mean, this is just devastating damage. Of course, everyone trying to figure out exactly how bad it is, how far reaching this is. An early morning video here. You can tell by the fact that it's still relatively dark. But again, more boats. This again near Panama City Beach at that same marina. And let's move down here. Lightning increasing. This is in Destin. And I think somewhere on here we may not have it, but in Tampa we also saw some issues from DOT camera of the bridge there where there are waves crashing up going over the side of the bridge. And then it is just shut down a lane of traffic here. This one reported video of damage. Tornado at lower Grand Lagoon, also in the Panhandle. And so this just devastating as well. They have ripped the roofs off of homes, and it's caused some catastrophic damage. Expect many things today. Seeing a tornado destroy a beach through a live camera at 6 o'clock in the morning was not one of them. Let's see if we can get a good look at exactly what this is, because it's dark, but you can definitely see all of the lightning and the rain there coming across the beach. Here, I don't know where this one is, but it clearly some major damage. We're going to continue to monitor this as we keep track of all of the damage that we've seen and that are we continuing to see. Let me see if there's any I haven't shown you yet. I think this one we haven't approached. The family group text popping off with tornado outbreak pictures and videos from Panama City Beach. So yeah, at this point, Panama City Beach has seen significant damage, especially at this marina. There was an RV park and a mobile home park in Marianna, Georgia, Marianna, Florida, that saw significant damage where they were just leveled. And I had also seen there were reports of potential injuries there earlier this morning again. And so the state now currently trying to pick up and figure out exactly where all of these problems are. But we're going to continue to monitor that. And Danielle in the booth, if you wouldn't let me know where we're going to go next, I'm more than happy to pass this over back to the guys as we continue to look at exactly where we're going to be for the remainder of the afternoon as these storms move through the area. In the meantime, I'm going to pull this up right here so you guys can see just how bad that is as I step out of the frame, and you can exactly see where this is. And we're going to show you some video now of I-295 Mandarin. That is just full of water. The roads covered. You can hardly see out the windshield. You can see those windshield wipers are going about as fast as they can. But really not much you can do when it's just dumping like this. Certainly if folks are on the roadways, we've seen people with their hazards on. We've seen people going very, 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 very slowly as they are making their way on the roadways this afternoon. Of course, as we approach rush hour here, really starting right about now, we want to urge everybody to take their time. Maybe if you don't have to leave just yet, wait for the worst to go past so you're not out on the roads in this. And this is video. Where is this from, you guys? This is a tree down in Inglewood. You can see it did some significant damage to the windshield. That's cracked. The tree still down on the side of that minivan at that home. Branches down everywhere. We had tornado warnings throughout the afternoon. That expired at about 4:15. And so now everyone's trying to figure out exactly how bad this damage is. We did have a cell, Mike, and the guys were saying right around the Bayard area, one of the more recent power outage numbers that we've seen as a result of this, St. Johns County has about 2,819 people without power at this point. Clay County, 6,180 people without power at this point. And here's new video that's out of Panama City Beach. This is the same area I was showing you those videos on Twitter of. Right off of the coast, right near where that marina is, that house, that three-story house, the gray one right there on the left, completely off to the side. Roofs have been ripped off. Debris everywhere. I mean, this is really pretty terrible at this point. You can see emergency vehicles on the scene there at this point too. We're working to figure out exactly how many, if any, injuries there were, but we are going to keep track of that. And we are going to head over now to Mike and Garrett in the First Alert Weather Center. Guys.
Yeah, we have a storm that we're concerned about moving into St. Johns County. And Garrett, we've been tracking the storm moving out of Putnam County into central St. Johns County. And obviously, again, a populated area or soon to be populated area, but not too far from Hastings and Elkton, Highway 207 and I-95. And then we'll cut northeast towards St. Augustine. Yeah,
so we're seeing heavy rain. Trevor's going to switch to the velocity data for us. The wind, you can see the wind intensify. We're going to watch this area right here. We're also watching in Putnam County. eastern Putnam County, heading into southern St. Johns County. So this is an area we'll watch as it crosses I-95. In fact, near that area, let's go to the First Alert traffic camera network. We have I-95 south at State Road 207. We're seeing this live image here for us for the Action News Jax First Alert traffic camera network. So I'm monitoring this one to see if we see anything coming in with that high winds, or at least some elevated winds moving west to east on First Alert Doppler HD. So a live look here today, right now at 429 there for central and southern St. Johns County. We're tracking these thunderstorms here. So back to First Alert Doppler HD. We are still seeing those high winds potentially and now crossing I-95. So we're watching that here. Again, elevated winds. There's St. Augustine downtown. On max number 2, we also have, and tracking 50+ mile-an-hour winds potentially, we have St. Augustine Marina looking into the western sky from downtown St. Augustine and St. Johns County here on the Weather Stem camera network. We're seeing a southerly wind the way it looks now, looking at the flags there on some of the boats in the marina. But again, we are tracking this potential of a strong storm, at least, very least, Mike, coming into the St. Augustine area, crossing along and east of I-95 in St. Johns County.
Yeah, so heads up St. Augustine and central and southern St. Johns County, an area that's been largely missed so far today. No surprise, that was the last area expected to be hit. But also realize that warm, humid air is being pulled northward into these storms, and so that's helping to fuel one last push of, more than likely last push of severe weather. There's an update on the severe thunderstorm warning in effect now for southern St. Johns, eastern Putnam County, northern Flagler County, as these storms continue to push out of Marion County up across eastern Putnam and then into southern St. Johns County. So this is our main area of concern for the rest of the afternoon, for about the next half hour or so. Sure, there's rain behind us, even some lightning and thunder and some heavy downpours, but the severe weather threat should be far less behind this main line. So once you get through Duval County, Nassau, Baker, Columbia, Clay, Bradford, Union, and Florida, and then all of southeastern Georgia, the severe weather threat far lower than it was just a little while ago as these storms continue to move to the northeast. So heads up St. Augustine. Let's zoom in a little bit on this storm that's approaching St. Augustine, Trevor, and here it is. You see the red, and that's and there's we just got an update. So this is just minutes from really hitting St. Augustine pretty hard with certainly very heavy rain. Let's take a look at the rainfall rates and then the wind. This is the wind. We'll do the rainfall rates next, and this is the wind. And this is our concern. Headed into St. Augustine, there's an update, and there's a surge of wind here. So right along Highway 16, the outlet malls, that's an area that we would be concerned about, and then extending southward to St. Augustine, at least the potential for damaging winds. And then the rainfall rates in here are generally between 1 and 2, there's a 3-inch per hour. So it's coming down. Blinding rain to go along with this rain. The wind is what we've seen frequently this afternoon. Back to the wind, and let's try to get some measurements on that. I'm also looking at computer 2 as Garrett's going back and forth, taking a look at some of the features on First Alert Storm, First Alert Doppler HD in southern St. Johns, and we're seeing, so there's a 55-mile-an-hour gust potentially west of St. Augustine, and that's what will be crossing I-95 and possibly producing at least strong winds, if not damaging in some cases, in the St. Augustine area, St. Augustine Beach, nearby spots here. Let's zoom in even a little tighter perhaps, Trevor, and on St. Augustine, and the strongest winds are just minutes away from San Marco Avenue to Volano Beach, southward to Dixie Highway. There's 4 Mile Road comes into view. There's Highway 16 that connects to Highway 1 in St. Augustine then, and then A1A, which takes you southward there. Anybody in and around the St. Augustine area, the strongest part of this storm, highest winds are getting ready to move into your neighborhood right now and could cause some power outages, perhaps a few downed trees. I'm not at the moment, Garrett or Trevor, seeing anything that would indicate a circulation.
Nope. Yeah, Mike, I'm not seeing any tight couplet, if you will, from what we saw earlier, but certainly some strong winds pushing through on the order of 40, 50 miles an hour.
Okay, so that'll continue to move to the northeast into St. Augustine. First Alert Skycam Networks, take a quick look, see if we see anything different than what we saw before. There we go on the left-hand side of the screen. That's the St. Augustine First Alert Skycam Network. That's right now. Not seeing anything real significant there other than it's raining, but we should see the wind pick up there in just a few minutes, Trevor.
Yeah, and we'll put that into motion behind you, Mike, and you can see quickly advancing towards you. Heavy rain coming in from the west, and as we just saw, some of those rainfall rates on the order of 1 to 2 inches an hour, so that could lead to some localized ponding on the roadways. The good thing in terms of the flooding threat is that they're moving so quickly, so we're not going to see heavy rain for a long period of time, but certainly heavy enough, quick enough to result in some ponding on the road, some slick spots out there. In addition to the gusty winds and the lightning, best to stay off the roads. We currently have no active tornado warnings, but we do have a few more lingering severe thunderstorm warnings, including this one over St. Augustine, down to St. Augustine Beach as well for the next couple of minutes as this comes through. We are getting reports in of some power outages as well as some tree damage, especially near and south of Bayard from what could have been a possible tornado earlier this afternoon. So that triggered that tornado warning earlier today for northern St. Johns County and southern Duval County to the beaches. Thankfully, that one thunderstorm did weaken a good bit right before reaching the coastline of Duval County and St. Johns County, and now that has shifted offshore. So that same thunderstorm currently located well off over the Atlantic. Light to briefly heavy rainfall persists behind this initial line of a strong to severe storm, so we will still have rain for the next couple of hours, but it will be coming to an end fairly quickly, seeing increasing dry time the further west you are. So pretty soon it will be okay to travel west on I-10, and temperatures will cool off. We'll see cooling temperatures tonight behind this cold front, but the focus right now continues to be in St. Johns County, where we are looking at that strong to severe thunderstorm approaching St. Augustine here within the next couple of minutes. As I put that into motion here, you can see that batch of very heavy rainfall right over I-95 due west of St. Augustine. So travel is quite hazardous at this time, but the good news is there are no tornado warnings, Mike, in effect right now.
Which means we're going to go back to regular programming is probably the best call at this point. 5 p.m. CBS 47 and Fox 30 Action News Jax will get underway. But if we see additional storms that look particularly damaging and or a tornado, of course, we'll get right back on the air live for you. But right now, it's St. Augustine that will receive the heaviest storms over the next few minutes, strong and gusty winds. And then that'll extend into northern portions of Flagler County as well as Putnam County. We're keeping a close eye on Palatka and areas of Putnam County extending into St. Johns County. And then behind that, sure, there's plenty of rain, even some rumbles of thunder and a few flashes of lightning, but it would appear that the severe weather threat is quite a bit lower when we get to the west of this main line of red, which is the squall line that we've been talking about all day long now. And we also have reporters efforting perhaps some of the reports of damage that we have received. We have not confirmed it independently, but reporters in the vicinity of Bayard and nearby spots along I-95 in northern St. Johns County that may have received some damage over the last hour or so. So for right now, severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect for central and southern St. Johns County, includes St. Augustine, Elkton, Hastings, Marineland, nearby spots, and then into central and eastern Putnam County. It would include Bostwick, Palatka, Crescent City, Georgetown, all under a severe thunderstorm right now warning, meaning the potential for high winds, damaging winds, certainly some very heavy rainfall. No warnings are any longer in effect for Duval County, Clay County, or points west all the way to Lake City, or any of our southeastern Georgia counties, even though some bursts of heavier rain continue for right now. So we'll keep you updated, of course. The latest on CBS 47 and Fox 30 Action News Jax will begin in 23 minutes at 5 p.m. Always online, actionnewsjax.com. You can download for free the First Alert Weather app and on the radio, 104.5 WOKV. Yeah, we can. Thanks. 9 out. Okay, I'm going to record KV radio then.